I received quite a few questions on vertical dimension, and before I answer those questions, I would like to discuss a few of the basics of vertical dimension that we need to know as the literature is today. So the very first thing, which is a problem in understanding, is that vertical dimension is a zone. Contemporary literature, which is being published in 2009, 2012 and 2019, has established that after multiple systematic reviews, we know that vertical dimension is a zone and not a definite point, unlike centric relation. Now, centric relation is a definite point. It's a bone-to-bone contact, which is a very immovable fixed point. For example, if two different operators record centric jaw relation, there's a 90% chance that both of them will record it at the same position. But vertical dimension is not like that. It is a zone, and two operators working differently on the same patient will record vertical dimension same at a probably 20 to 30% of the times. What that means is vertical dimension is slightly variable, and therefore the muscles which accommodate vertical dimension are probably in a situation where they can adapt to minor changes, be it additive or reductive. So, let me quote Rebibo et al. From 2009. What they say is vertical dimension is a comfort zone, which means throughout this zone the patient is comfortable. It has an upper limit, it has a lower limit and an amplitude. The amplitude is the range between the upper and lower limit, and throughout that range every single patient is comfortable no matter what vertical dimension is established. Now, individual vertical dimension adaptability depends on every person's neuromuscular coordination and neuromuscular adaptation. The only patients where neuromuscular adaptation is low is patients who are above 80 years of age. Anyone who is younger than that will probably adapt very well to adjustments in vertical dimension. Before we go ahead, a few basic terms which we have all known but I'm just brushing up. One is vertical dimension of occlusion, that is when the mandible is in centric relation position and the teeth are in maximum intercuspation. The dimension between two fixed points, probably the tip of the nose and the tip of the chin, is vertical dimension of occlusion. And at this point, the mandibular elevator muscles are working to hold the maximum intercuspation. The other term is vertical dimension at rest. What that means is when these elevator muscles relax and let go of the mandible and the mandible hangs from the skull, these elevator muscles are relaxed. They are not completely inactive, but they are at their most reduced activity. And this is called vertical dimension of rest. And at this point, the teeth are not touching. The teeth are apart by about 2 to 3 millimeters. And this 2 to 3 millimeters gap between the occluding surfaces of the teeth at vertical dimension of rest is known as the freeway space. Now, there is a lot of controversy in the questions regarding freeway space. The question I had was whether freeway space is something we can encroach into when restoring the vertical dimension. And the answer with all the current available literature is yes. Even if you have a 2 to 3 millimeter freeway space, you can increase the vertical dimension by 5 to 6 millimeters. I'll get to how and why a little later. Here I would like to tell you that when the mandible is in centric relation, that is when the condyle is completely resting in the glenoid fossa, as the patient opens the mouth, the condyle does not leave the glenoid fossa for the first 20 millimeters of arc of rotation. Here, the condyle just rotates within the glenoid fossa. After the first 20 millimeters, if the patient opens further, then the mandible translates and comes ahead to allow further opening of the jaw. Okay, we need to know this because we need to know the limit at which we can increase vertical dimension without changing centric relation. So theoretically, this value is about 18 to 20 millimeters. Theoretically, we can increase vertical without affecting the centric relation position of the condyles of the mandible. We never have to do that, but that is how the anatomy is. So moving on a little further. Now the next question was, if this is possible, that is encroachment into freeway space or an increase in vertical is possible, when and how do we do it? Now, we can do it at two different points. So for this, I will have to illustrate a clinical situation. So we can consider two types of patients for vertical dimension increase. One, I would call a safe patient. A safe patient is a young patient who has good neuromuscular adaptability, who doesn't have any joint pathology. So in these cases, it is fairly straightforward. What we do in these cases is first take a set of diagnostic casts, do a diagnostic mounting, followed by an increase in vertical dimension of the articulator and a proper full contour diagnostic mock-up with wax on the diagnostic cast. Once this is done, we can actually go ahead, prepare all the teeth for a full mouth rehab case in the patient's mouth, transfer these temporaries into the mouth and restore the patient provisionally at this increased vertical dimension. Now how much we can increase? In one go we can increase 5 to 6 millimeters. This is in one step. Once we do this, we have to wait for 2 weeks. Patients are generally known to have small bits of adaptability issues here and there, and then they are completely fine after 2 weeks. After a month, the patient is ready to be restored with final restorations. Now, one thing we have to always remember is when you increase the vertical dimension and you cement the set of provisionals in the patient's mouth, your occlusal scheme has to be impeccable. There can be no prematurities, there can be no unplanned non-working side contacts, and your occlusal scheme has to be perfect. Now, this was for a safe patient. What for patients whom we have to deal with caution? For these cases, I would define this set of patients as one. Either patients who are very old, whose neuromuscular adaptability is a question mark, we don't know how well they'll adapt. Second, class 2 or class 3 patients. These class 2 occlusion and class 3 malocclusion patients, the problem is that as the mandible is open to increase vertical dimension, the horizontal relationship between the maxilla and mandible changes. So in these cases, and in patients having TMJ pathologies, especially osteoarthritis and other similar conditions, where we don't know how well the patient can adapt to an increase in vertical, what we do is, we do the same steps that we do for a safe patient till the diagnostic mock-up. After the diagnostic mock-up, we don't prepare the teeth in the patient's mouth. We just take the mock-up and we transfer it to the mouth at the increased vertical as the patient's teeth are. So these are generally bonded composite temporaries. So existing teeth as they are unprepared and the composite temporaries are bonded at an increased vertical. So here we are not doing any irreversible changes to the teeth. So if the patient cannot adapt, we can just take off everything we have bonded and the patient is back to where he or she was. This again is left for evaluation for 2 weeks. Of course, considering that the occlusion is perfected. If the patient is adapted and is comfortable, we wait for a month and then we can go ahead with restoration. If the patient is not okay with this increased vertical dimension, we have to re-evaluate our whole plan of full mouth rehabilitation. Now, why is it important to bond the provisionals at an increased vertical? Because research and systematic reviews have shown us that if you increase the vertical dimension with a removable prosthesis, or worse still, with a partial increase in vertical, that means increasing only the VD at the posteriors or at the anteriors, cause significant trouble in adaptability to patients. Most patients come back with complaints and problems, and that is to be avoided at all costs. So, full arch temporaries on prepared teeth for safe patients, on unprepared teeth for patients with caution. Full arch fixed. Okay. Now, there will still probably be questions as to how we can do this when literature for years has told us that you can't do drastic changes in vertical dimension. Now this, like rest of the dental literature, is the problem because all these principles have been carried over into full mouth rehab and fixed restorations from removable restorations. For example, similarly, from complete dentures, the concept of bilateral balanced occlusion was carried over to full mouth rehab in the early 1920s to 1950s. What most researchers noticed is because of this balanced occlusion being replicated in FPDs, because it worked in CDs, they had a considerable failure in FPDs. And why was that? Because natural teeth could not take the lateral forces. Either crowns would chip off, break off, or there would be mobility in teeth. So they decided that it was not always a good idea to take what works in CD and transfer it to FPD. A similar thing happens with vertical dimension. Whenever operators and researchers increase the vertical dimension considerably in CD, patients used to come back with trouble. Why? Because the CD is removable, it is movable. So as soon as you increase the vertical dimension, the muscles detect that there is something foreign which is movable in the mouth, which is causing a problem with a position that they were used to, and they immediately dislodge these prostheses or some other problem occurs, which is why the researchers concluded that drastic increases in VD is not possible. But as time progressed, researchers did studies by increasing the VD through a fixed method. So there would be fixed temporaries or fixed transfer mock-up onto unprepared teeth, and they noticed that when the temporaries are bonded or a mock-up is bonded onto the teeth, the system evaluates it as its own. It doesn't consider it as a foreign body. It is fixed to the teeth. So the stomatognathing system thinks that this is an inbuilt mechanism. So the muscles recover, the muscles adapt, and there is neuromuscular adaptation. Of course, again, considering that the occlusion is fine and the TMJ is healthy. And because of this, we don't see problems when there are fixed temporaries at increased vertical dimensions. So I hope I've answered all the questions. The questions were mainly pertaining to how and when do we increase the vertical dimension, whether it is okay to encroach into freeway space, and what is the maximum vertical dimension we can increase without changing the centric relation. I hope I've answered all those questions with this small video. Another small note I would like to add to what we discussed just now, and that is the differences in opinions and ideas about increasing vertical dimension and restoring vertical dimension. I would like to place it on record, first of all, that the most recent review article on vertical dimension, which is published by Kalamita et al., including authors like Christian Coachman and John Coyce, use these terms interchangeably. So I will be attaching the PDF to that article. You will see that they say increase or restore vertical dimension. And why is this? There was initially a belief that vertical dimension is a set number. So if the set number is, let's assume, 10, then it matters whether we increase it to 11 or 12, or we restore something that's gone down to 7 and 8 back to 10. Now the belief is that it is not a fixed number like 10. It is a range from 8 to 13. So what you do is, whether you increase or whether you restore within a range, which is why you can use the term increase or restore interchangeably, since there is no fixed point, because it's a range. And therefore the discussion of increase and restore with respect to actually treating cases is moot for now. But in literature, where it arose and what the debates were, you are free to read up and decide for your own.